I sit alone in my four-cornered room staring at candles. Oh, that shit is on?
I'm gonna shoot you so bad. My dick's hard.
Another one. Hey YouTube, this is my channel, James Ruins Movies. I'm your host, James. This is our third video now, still trying to get all the bugs out and everything, and just trying to get these videos out sooner, but we'll see what happens. So for our third video, I think we're going to talk about a really great movie, and that movie is New Jack City. New Jack City came out in 1991 and is rated R. It's directed by Mario Van Peebles and written by Barry Michael Cooper and Thomas Lee Wright. It stars Ice-T, Judd Nelson, and Wesley Snipes. And what I love about this movie is it started a new wave of black cinema. And let me explain what I mean by that. 20 years prior to this movie, in 1971, Mario Van Peebles' father, Melvin Van Peebles, kind of started the black exploitation genre, like wave of the 70s and 80s. With his movie Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song that he actually funded himself with the help of Bill Cosby. Yeah. And that movie started a whole wave of movies that came out, and it was just amazing. You had like Superfly, Shaft, and a bunch of other ones came out around that time. And 20 years after, with this movie, New Jack City, his son did the same thing. Now, what I hate, though, is that these movies were never really given a name. It's like anytime you look them up, they always put them under like black crime or something. But these movies go so much deeper than that. So they should really have a better name than that. Because you have movies like Shottas, Belly, Boys in the Hood, like Menace to Society, but they didn't have a name. And black crime really doesn't work for a name because yes, like crime is involved in most of these movies and it's a part of it. It's the lifestyle. But it goes so much deeper than that with just everything, the persona, how you handle yourself. So I just wish it was given a better name. To me, you really can't call these mob movies because to me that's more like Irish, Italian, and like Russian movies. And I don't like saying gangster because that's more of like film noir from the 30s, like from the 40s to like 50s. So it just, I don't know, it needs a better name. To me, New Jack really did start this new wave of cinema. You did have King of New York come out before this, but to me, that's more of a crime movie than anything else. And the same year this came out, you did have A Rage in Harlem, but to me, that's more going towards the black exploitation movies of back then. And you did have Boys in the Hood come out the same year this one did. And yes, Boys in the Hood, I would put that in this category. And I do think that's an amazing movie. But to me, New Jack is just a little bit more unique and it does bring in the new wave of cinema. Whereas I think Boys in the Hood, to me, was a little bit more 80s in the directing style. Not really what you're seeing, but just it had an 80s feel to me, whereas this had just that new wave feels. Now, with this video, I want to focus on staying true, and by that I mean not softening your message, and that's exactly what they were able to do in this movie. They show you all the aspects of like the drug lifestyle, especially like during the crack epidemic. You had like all the street dealers, you had the really big bosses, then you just had everyone living with it. So I really love that they show that in this movie. Also, the term New Jack was actually coined by the writer of this movie, Barry Michael Cooper, who used to write for The Village Voice. And he's like a screenwriter, journalist, and like ex-drug addict who used to write just about like, I guess just street life or whatever like that, you know, just like the crack epidemic, the dealers, all that he used to write about. Also, this movie just has an amazing soundtrack. You have music from like Ice-T, 2 Live Crew. You get to see Flavor Flav in the movie. And also, it's funny, but I had to look it up, but Lil Wayne got a lot of inspiration from this movie. He named his label like Cash Money Records, and the group in this movie is called the Cash Money Brothers. And also, his album's called like The Carter, and the building they take over in this movie is called The Carter. And also, the ECW wrestler New Jack got his name from this movie. This movie didn't win any awards, but the film critic Roger Ebert gave it an amazing review. And what I also like about this movie is it was actually shot in Harlem. So many movies, especially back then, said they were in a certain location but never shot there. But this movie, they actually wanted it to have that feel. So they actually shoot in Harlem. They have a lot of the actual residents from that area in the movie. They wanted to give it a really unique feel. New Jack City starts out by showing New York, and we hear from the radio how poor the area is and how crime is at an all-time high. We eventually get to a bridge where we see Wesley Snipes and his boy holding some white dude Vanilla Ice style over the bridge. The reason they're holding him over the bridge is because the dude owes Wesley Snipes' character money and he can't pay. Now, Wesley Snipes' character in this goes by Nino Brown, the most feared drug dealer like in New York. And can I just say, Wesley Snipes is honestly one of the greatest actors ever, especially during the 90s. Like the 90s, he could do anything. He could be funny, he could be serious. Like his movies were the best during that time. And what I love about this movie is he's completely evil in this. There is no redeeming qualities about him, and he just owns it. You love his character, Nino Brown, in this, and that's all Wesley Snipes. So Nino's talking to the guy as he's being held over the bridge, and he can't pay Nino. So after some time, Nino and his boy just drop him, dead. So now it's 1986 in New York, and crack is at an all-time high. Now we see a drug deal about to go down. The two characters that we're seeing are Ice-T and Chris Rock. Now, this is Chris Rock, I believe, third movie, but he's actually a character in this instead of being like just kind of a side character. And I believe this is Ice-T's first starring role. I think he was a character in Breakin' and Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo, but I'm not too sure. Now, Chris Rock's character, Pookie, is trying to sell Ice-T's character some drugs. They complain about price for a little bit, but after some time, Ice-T's character shows Pookie the money. Pookie sees the money, pushes Ice-T's character, takes the money, and takes off running. Ice-T's character starts chasing after Pookie, and what I love about this scene is that Ice-T's character, while he's running, an Ice-T song starts playing in the background, and to me, that is always the biggest flex you can do in a movie, is like when a musician's song is actually playing during their scene. It's happened a lot of times in movies, like I know DMX, Method Man have been able to do it, but I just always love it. So Pookie steals a bike and starts running away. Ice-T's character is chasing after him. They go down some stairs. Eventually, Pookie falls over. They get to a park. Ice-T takes out his gun, shoots Pookie in the leg. He falls. Money goes everywhere. Ice-T's character arrests him. We see that Ice-T is actually an undercover cop. He goes by Scotty Appleton. And now he's arresting him. But while he's arresting Pookie, one of Nino's boys sees him getting arrested, Kareem. And we'll see him later on. So now we're at the basketball court. We're seeing another one of Nino's boys, G Money. G Money is played by Alan Payne, who was in CB4, Vampire in Brooklyn, and Perfect Storm. He's been in a few other things, but he's amazing in this. So now he's on the basketball court betting everyone that he can make the shot, his shot first try. He bets everyone, makes the shot, like goes in first try, gets all the money, and that's when Nino Brown and his boy come driving up, and that's where G Money hops in the back of the car and they take off. Now in the car, they're driving along, and G Money and Nino Brown are reminiscing about old times. But you could tell that Nino knows that G Money is making money on the side. G explains to Nino that no, he was just running an experiment, and shows him a crack vial and starts telling him about how much money they can make from it. Man, who's played by Bill Nunn, who was in all the original Spider-Mans, is telling him, hey, don't be going against the family, but he's assuring, G Money's reassuring everyone he's not. Like, he found a way for them to make even more money. So after some time talking, Nino tells him he'll think about it. Next scene, we see Nino and his crew meeting in the back of one of their clubs. His crew goes by Cash Money Brothers, CMB. And in the front of the club, we see Flavor Flav. I love Flavor Flav. So in the back, they're talking about how they're going to take over the city. And how they're going to take over the city is by dealing crack to the community. But how they're going to do it is they're going to take over the apartment complex, the Carter. They're going to take the Carter by force. That way they're able to just have their whole operation in one location. They'll take out any rival crew and just anyone who gets in their way. And like they all agree on it. So the next scene is them taking out all the crews. They strip the landlord butt naked, and they put a shotgun in his face, and they make him sign over the Carter to Nino Brown. So that's how they're able to take the Carter by force. The next scene is just them going in the Carter, just shooting up every room, just taking the women and children. But what I love about this scene is they're actually showing that the bad guys in this are actually bad. Every movie nowadays just loves to show that, no, they're not bad, they're just misunderstood. But everyone who's supposed to be bad in this movie is a piece of shit. So now the next scene is them just taking out all the rival crews and setting up shop in the Carter. They start making money hand over fist. And before this scene, they were showing how the Carter was just like a really nice place to live and it looked really peaceful and everything. And after they set up shop and everything, and a few months have gone by, it's just a shithole now. We see Ice-T's character Appleton watching a bunch of students saying no to drugs. He looks down and there's just empty vials everywhere, and this you could tell it's just pissing him off. We're at the police station now, where one of the residents is complaining to the cops how Nino and his crew were able to take over the Carter, and the cops are doing nothing about it. Now the resident is played by Bill Cobbs. And I hate that he just goes by old man in this, but Bill Cobbs is amazing. He's been in so many movies, but of course the one I'm going to talk about is he was the coach in Air Bud. I love Air Bud. So he's complaining for a little while, and that's when Lieutenant Stone walks in. Now, Lieutenant Stone is played by Mario Van Peebles, who's the director of this movie. He's making his way to the commissioner's office, and the reason he's doing that is because he wants for the commissioner to let him team up Ice-T's character Appleton with Judd Nelson's character Peretti. The commissioner doesn't want to team them up because he knows how much of a liability they both are. Now, the commissioner is played by Thalmus Razula, I think his name is, something weird like that. But he was in a bunch of B movies and like blaxploitation movies back then. He has just such a unique voice. Now, he's saying how he doesn't want to team these two up, but Lieutenant Stone is saying they need to. That's the only way to take down Nino Brown. It took like no convincing, and the commissioner's just like, no, okay, yeah, you can team them up. So now they're partners. Now Lieutenant Stone is introducing Ice-T's character Appleton to Judd Nelson's character Peretti. And Peretti is played by Judd Nelson, whose two big movies were, of course, Breakfast Club and St. Elmo's Fire. Breakfast Club is good, but I can't stand St. Elmo's Fire. We might talk about that movie one day. What I love about Judd Nelson's character, though, in this is that he's the only white dude, so they decided just to make him as racist as possible, like to the 10th degree. But it works in this. And so now those two meet, and they don't like each other. They don't want to partner up, but they decide to anyway. So they take the lethal weapon approach. Peretti takes his gun out, shoots holes in Appleton's wall just to show how crazy he is. Next scene is Nino meeting up with his Italian connections. They know that Nino is pushing them out. Nino says, yeah, I am, and to go fuck themselves. And so the Italians leave and tell him he'll regret it. Now, G-Money lets Nino know that was probably a bad idea, but Nino doesn't care. He's larger than life right now. The Italians decide, though, they're just going to do the waiting game. They're going to wait for Nino to fuck up, and then they're going to make their attack. They take the total mob approach. Next scene is Nino giving out food to the community. I think it's like Christmas time or whatever, and he's giving out like turkeys and stuff. And Appleton and Peretti are on the roof watching this, and we just see how disgusted Appleton is by Nino. Next scene, though, is Chris Rock's character Pookie walking up. He's a crackhead now, and just goes up to Nino and trying to get free food and everything, and you could just tell Nino is disgusted by him. Like, starts making fun of him and everything, but after time, he gives him a whole turkey. Tells Pookie that if he gets his shit together, he'll actually give him a job. And Pookie starts making his way out. Now, Appleton and Peretti still on the roof sees Pookie, and Appleton feels bad because like he shot him in the leg, and now he's a crackhead. So he decides he's gonna watch out for him now. So the next scene now is Pookie like in some crack area or whatever, and like he is just bugging out. He starts attacking some girl. Appleton's character was kind of undercover during this, grabs Pookie, starts selling him out, but sees that Pookie really needs some help. Appleton, feeling bad, takes Pookie to a rehab, and Pookie is just pissed off at first. And like Appleton feels bad. We see Pookie just shaking it out like the first night, but Appleton's right on his side. So like Pookie really does not want to be in rehab at first. He's like walking out of the meetings and everything. He's just shaking all the nights. But after some time, he decides, yeah, I want to get better. Starts actually going to the meetings and actually gets sober. So now he's out completely rehabilitated, but like he really wants to help Appleton now take down Nino. So he decides to work with Appleton and Peretti. Since Nino offered Pookie a job, he'll be able to go undercover inside. So Pookie's character is able to show Appleton and everyone just the whole layout, how you have to show a card going in, you walk through the entrance, and right there you just see everyone, like the Carter is just a shithole now. Like people are just cracked out, they're fighting each other, like it does not look like a good place to live. So you have to go inside, you give the money, they bring you into another room, they give you the drugs, something to use it, and you go do your drugs somewhere. And in this scene, they show a mother with her child, and she's doing crack while like the child just sits there. And it's a really dark scene, but like I'm glad they put it in there because that does happen. So like this movie is really great, just trying to show everything. They call the crack room the Enterprise because you beam up to Scotty. So all the cops think that Nino is just controlling a few rooms, but Pookie lets him know, no, he's controlling the whole building. Like he has the whole operation set up. So now it's New Year's and Nino's meeting with his Italian connections again. They're saying that there's no hard feelings or whatever, and they give him a gift. Now the gift is a statue of a black jockey. At least that's what it looks like, with a noose around its neck. Nino looks at this, laughs, and then just smashes it over the Italian's head. All the Cash Money brothers take out their guns. They have it on the Italians. And then Nino takes Needles' ponytail and just chops it off. They leave. G says that was probably not a good idea, but Nino still doesn't care. So now they're at the club partying, and that's where Nino sees G Money's girl for the first time, Uniqua. And you could just tell he is infatuated by her. So now they're at Nino's house watching Scarface, and it's Nino, his girl, G Money, and his girl. And Nino's talking about how the world is his, and G Money's girl is agreeing with him. And just Uniqua just starts hitting on Nino just in front of everyone. After some time, Nino's character starts making fun of his girl because she can't have kids and starts actually mimicking the scene from Scarface. It's just a cold scene, but like what's messed up though is like I think this scene's a little worse because like in Scarface, his girl could have kids, she just chose not to, and in this like she really can't have kids and Nino is just laughing in her face. So she runs off. Nino decides to go after her. They talk for a minute. But you could just tell Nino does not care about anyone. Like, it's all about him. He goes back into the room, starts looking at G Money's girl, and you can tell he really wants her. So now we're back with Appleton and Peretti, where the lieutenant is screaming at them for hiring Pookie, who's an ex-crackhead. Appleton's character is telling them that no, he's got it. Peretti's asking, is this a black thing? And Pookie's like, no, don't worry. Like, I can handle this. So that's where they give him a belt with a microphone and camera. He starts doing his lookout thing at the Carter, but that's where he gets promoted to the drugstore, which is the room where they just like handle all the drugs. So now the lieutenant is talking to them, and he fears that Pookie might not be ready for this, but Appleton and Pookie reassure everyone that he is ready, that he's ready like for this, and they don't have to worry. So they all agree on whatnot, and that's where this movie takes a weird turn, because you really think that Appleton and Pookie really like each other, but like, and Pookie thinks they're friends, but that's where like Appleton turns on Pookie and says, fuck you, you're a crackhead, you better do this because you owe it to everyone. Then he brings up his dead mom because she died from a crackhead, which is what he thinks. So now he's kind of putting all that on Pookie, and Pookie's just giving him a look like, where the fuck is this coming from? And just like, it kind of works though, because that's probably what cops do to their informants and stuff like that. Like, hey, I'm your buddy, and then, hey, fuck you. So like, Pookie is scared now because like he thinks no one's on his side. So he's like fearing using the pipe again. But he's able to stop himself at first. But after some time, like temptation kicks in, he starts using again. So now Pookie's in the drugstore just high as a kite. Peretti sees this through the camera, brings it up to everyone in the room. Appleton really starts to worry, but they're like, don't worry, like he's got it. But that's where G Money and his people go up to Pookie because they know he's messed up, and they start frisking him. That's where they find the belt that had the wire on it and everything. They know they're being set up. So Appleton, Peretti, and all the cops go into the Carter to start try to take them down, but G Money and his group are already like starting to destroy the building. They make their way in, notice they burned everything. They find a bomb connected to Pookie. Appleton, Peretti, and another officer try to defuse the bomb. They fuck up at first, but are able to defuse it with like 2 seconds remaining. Now we see Nino hooking up with Uniqua in Nino's bed. Phone rings. Uniqua answers it. It's G Money on the other line. He calls her a slut and asks to talk to Nino. When Nino gets on the phone, he tells him what happened. Nino calls a meeting, and at the meeting, he brings in a big-ass dog, and he starts walking around asking everyone what happened. No one's answering him. They're all looking down. He finally goes up to G Money and tells him he fucked up, that he can't run shit. G Money gets pissed off and tells Nino it's his fault. Nino tells him to sit his $5 ass down or else he'll make change. I swear the dialogue in this movie is just butter. So I never really noticed this part before, but G Money kind of subtly throws Kareem under the bus, saying that he was the one who brought in Pookie. So after some time, Nino gets pissed and like stabs Kareem in the hand and starts choking him. No one tries to stop him except Dada Man, but like you can see the look that Nino is giving G Money. Like he really wanted to do that to him. So like G is just pissed off. I mean, Nino is just pissed off. But like what I thought was crazy is that he actually let Kareem live, which I thought was pretty insane. So now he asked everyone to leave, and just like Nino is just mad with power, and now G Money is really like pissed off at the whole situation. So he actually starts using the pipe now. Now we're at Pookie's funeral, where the lieutenant is screaming at Appleton, saying like this is pretty much all his fault, and then Appleton's like, well, I lost a friend, which is weird because he treated his friend like shit, but whatever. So now Peretti and Appleton are talking on the roof, saying like Appleton's complaining that it was his fault that Pookie died, and Peretti saying no, like he kind of was to blame also because he used to be like Pookie, like he was an ex-drug addict and everything, and like he has a really great monologue where he's saying like how it's not a color thing, these drugs, like it's just a killing thing, like whoever gets addicted to them, they die. So like they decide, like, even though they don't like each other, they're going to keep working together and try to bring down Nino, even without the lieutenant's help. Lethal Weapon. So Peretti and Appleton blackmail Needles now to try to get in with Nino and G Money. So Needles sets up a meeting to meet Appleton, Peretti, and G Money. They all meet. G Money decides to work with them, but he's trying to cut Nino out. And Appleton knows this, so now they're at the basketball court where G Money and Nino are playing. Appleton comes onto the court, but that's where everyone draws their guns on him and tells him to leave. He finally does, but G Money reminds him that, hey, we're cutting him out. Now, in this scene, Kareem is looking at Appleton and knows he knows him from somewhere, but he can't remember where. Kareem is the dude who saw Appleton shoot Pookie in the beginning of the movie, but he can't remember that right now. Nino tells G Money that if Appleton ends up being a cop, that he's going to kill him, but like G Money's on the pipe right now, so like he really doesn't care. So now Appleton and Nino are at Nino's house, and Nino's telling Appleton a story about like how he used to be in this gang, and that to join the gang he had to kill someone. So the first person he killed happened to be a school teacher, and that's where Appleton realizes that Nino's actually the guy who killed his mom. But he doesn't show that. He does a great way of like just holding it in. And he ends up telling Nino like, yeah, I guess it was business, so you had to do it. But deep down, like, he really wants to kill Nino now. Next scene is Nino around with a bunch of little kids, and he's like giving them money and stuff. But the old man from before comes in, yells at all the kids for being around Nino. Nino's crew comes up, kind of beats up the old man a little bit. He falls to the ground. Nino calls him nothing. Old man tells the like kids to leave. They do. He goes to shoot Nino, but Appleton stops him and like throws him out of the building. And now Nino sees that he can trust Appleton. So now Appleton and Nino start hanging out more. Appleton lets Nino know that, hey, G Money's trying to like cut you out and everything. So like Appleton's trying to like break up the group from the inside. Now we're at a wedding where Nino is the guest of honor, you know, someone's getting married and all that. But while this is going on, Peretti is sneaking into Nino's place to get into his safe to steal the files from the drugstore that they had their drug operation with. He gets those, and now we're back at the wedding. At the wedding, everyone's leaving and everything, and we see a van that's packing up, but it ends up being the Italians. They start spraying at the wedding. Nino actually uses the one of the children as like a way to barricade himself. Runs away, drops the girl. Appleton runs up. He saves the girl. He has a shot at Nino, but doesn't take him out. After some time, Keisha, one of Nino's crew, ends up getting shot. She dies, and G Money is able to take out one of the Italians, but they leave. Eventually, the Italians call up Nino, tell him that he deserved what he got, and Nino tells them to go fuck themselves. There's a lot of that in this movie. So now Nino and his crew, they drive by, shoot all the Italians, and they kill them all. It's a good thing they were all outside at the same time, but whatever. So now Peretti and Appleton are meeting back up with their lieutenant to tell them that they're going to try to take down Nino one more time by setting up a sting operation. The lieutenant is against it at first, but then he's like, okay, we'll try it out. So they set up the sting operation. The funny thing about this is the only scene where it still has that like 70s feel to it. You know, they both look like pimp drug dealers, but it works in this scene. But so they decide like they set him up by like Appleton bringing the money, bringing the drugs, and Nino's supposed to have the money. But while this is going on, Kareem finally realizes he knows Appleton and that he's a cop. He tells Nino he's a cop, and that's where all hell breaks loose. The cops come in to try to stop them all. They kill most of Nino's crew, but like Nino's able to get away because he kills some of the cops and then he dips. G-Money's able to get away, and then Appleton saves Peretti because one of the dudes is attacking him. Dude falls, but then Peretti is able to save Appleton from the same guy. I think it's Da Man. So they're able to show that, hey, we can trust each other now, like we're cool. Yeah. So now Nino and G-Money meet up finally, and Nino tells him that like this is all his fault. He fucked everything up. But G-Money says that you changed. You know, you started to only care about yourself. And after some time talking, Nino actually finally just shoots G-Money. But the crazy thing about this scene is it's the only time that Nino seems to really care. Like, he did care about G-Money, but I guess he felt like he had to take him out. Appleton and Peretti talk to some kids to find out where Nino is. They finally do. So the next morning now, we see Nino, like, in the living room watching Scarface with Uniqua. Appleton just breaks through the window like Batman, starts beating the shit out of Nino. Uniqua tries to help, but Appleton just punches her in the face. Justified. They start fighting a little bit. Appleton finally like throws him out the window. They're on the fire escape now. He throws him off the fire escape into some trash and just starts beating his ass throughout the neighborhood. Tells him that this isn't personal. It isn't business. It's personal. Tells him that he was the one who killed his mother and just starts beating the shit out of him. Finally pulls his gun out, like ready to shoot him, but Peretti stops him and says, no, let's let him go to court because like he can end up doing life. So they're in court now, and like after some time in the courtroom, it turns out though Nino isn't going to get life. He's only going to end up doing a year. So everyone is just pissed off now. They're walking outside, but that's where the old man comes up from before and finally shoots Nino like 3 times in the chest, and Nino falls over the staircase and like dies on the floor. And Peretti is just smiling about this. He's happy as hell, and just Appleton's character takes it all in, puts his glasses on, and walks out. Like, he was just cool with it. And that's the end of the movie. The movie ends with like a message saying that even though Nino Brown is a fictitious character, this is happening all over the world, so we need to do something about it. So this movie was really trying to just show the crack epidemic and like ways to fight it and just what it is. And this movie is just really well done. Like, honestly, it's probably my favorite Wesley Snipes movie. Possibly. And just, I love Ice-T in this because we got to see him as a cop before his roles in SVU, and just we got to see Wesley Snipes is just a vicious character. So all in all, I really love this movie, and I'm going to rate it high. I'm going to give it 4 stars. It probably deserves more, but I'm happy with 4. And that's it. So alright, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to try to start doing them more and like just getting more out there, but it's just taking a minute. But I really hope you enjoyed this. Thank you.
Nothing to lose, much to gain. In my brain, I got a capitalist migraine. I gotta get paid tonight. You motherfucking right, taking my grip. Check my bitch, keep my game tight.